Hey guys, and I'm back with another bike check in typical Ted fashion. It's lots of background noise, and it'll probably take 30 minutes for me to go over everything. So this bike is the Vitus Mythique, a French brand that ships out of Ireland via Chain Reactions website. I think I ordered this about a week ago, a little over a week ago, and they got this bike flown over in less than a week. Pretty crazy, especially right now, this year, during these times. So I'll try to go over it in the typical way that I do. I'll do who the bike's for, who the bike's maybe not for, cons first, then pros, then just go over some overall details of the bike. This one's pretty basic. Who the bike is for is clearly anybody who's looking for a budget full suspension. This one was $1,500, and there's 3 trims. This is the lowest trim, VR. Then there's the VRS for $1,800 and the VRX for $2,000. So this bike, I would say ideally is for somebody who wants to get a little bit more aggressive with their riding, but it's all the models are kind of interchangeable. They're very similar. They all have almost identical thing. This bike is 130 millimeter front and rear. I think the S and X models are 140. So those parts won't be interchangeable. But the overall design still has an upgrade path in that there is a dropper routing. So you can put a dropper on this model. You just have to do it externally. And obviously you can upgrade the drivetrain, which is something that the S has, and then of course you would have to swap the shock with one that has a lockout to get the S model configuration. So it hasn't, you can start with this and upgrade to that same model, or just outright buy that model, although a lot of people are still avoiding it because of the SRAM SX drivetrain. The only brand that really holds a candle to this in terms of being the far and away best budget full suspension would be Polygon, but that would be for a slightly different type of riding in my opinion. So the Polygons have cheaper models that come with dropper, which means they would be more suitable for people who are riding less aggressively. They want more comfort. Those models are like 120 millimeter suspension. So more beginners, people on undulating trails. This bike with 130 mil and not coming with the dropper, this is more for somebody who really knows what they want out of the bike. They're just gonna, climb up the fire road, get off, slam that seat down, get back on, and then bomb down it. Not the best for like a long day of riding, going up and down small hills, constantly needing adjustments. So who the bike is for, more aggressive riders, but it could be for anybody because it has the upgrade path and it has the upcharge model, however you want to do it. I'm going with the base because I want to choose the upgrade path as opposed to be stuck with the 12-speed SRAM and whatever the VRS model has. I'm just going to upgrade as I see fit. I should also mention before we move on, this is the, oh, it's not coming out on camera. This is the woman's model. There are 3 differences. I thought there would be a frame difference, but apparently there's not. 3 differences. The stems are 10 millimeters shorter, which is something I prefer. and the bars are 20 millimeters shorter, which is something I prefer. So, and then the third difference is the color, which is arguably better than just black. So the stem is better in my opinion. The bars are better in my opinion because they're basically pre-cut to 780 how I want them. And then the logo is poppier. So, I mean, get whichever model you want, but don't let this sort of idea of women's hold you back. For me, it actually was an advantage. Now I don't have to cut my bars, don't have to get a shorter stem, etc. So let's move on to cons. There aren't a lot with the bike. It's really overall good, but there's one small one and one big one. For cons, I will not be mentioning things that are involved with the upcharge model, so I keep seeing this in reviews and it's bothering me. People who say that the bike doesn't have a dropper, that's not a con because the upcharge model has it. People who say the drivetrain needs more range, that's not a con because the upcharge model has it. People who say the shock doesn't have a lockout, that's not a con either because the upcharge model has that. If you want those creature comforts, pay $300 more, get the VRS for $1,800. One con, nitpicky, that I really don't like is the stock grips, aside from just being bad in stock, which is usually acceptable, they are a nightmare to get off. I still haven't been able to get them off and put on my replacement grips, because when you undo this fake locking end, you realize that it's literally just a BMX grip and it's stuck on the bar, and I can't lift the edge because it's hard plastic for the locking, so I can't get my air compressor or even like soapy water under there. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna get a knife and start cutting it off, I guess. That's very annoying. If you're gonna go cheap, just go all the way cheap. Put a crappy BMX grip on so that I can lift it and get air compressor under it, or put nice locking grips on. I don't know. Don't do this little halfway, you know, whole ass one thing, not half-ass two. And then the real con, an actual con, kind of a major con. You'll see this in a lot of reviews. The kinked seat tube is kind of a nightmare mess, even for just a rigid seat post. I can imagine that issue gets a lot worse with the dropper. So here's the rigid seat post. This is slammed right now. This is as far as it can go, and that is after cutting off this much. That's nearly 4 to 5 inches. That's significant. So if you can imagine adding this onto this, that would be as low as that seat goes. So you're almost forced to cut the seat tube, or if you don't like cutting things and having the kind of bird sharp edge in there, I guess buying a short aftermarket one. But the real issue is when you route a dropper on this frame, and the dropper can't be shortened because it has its mechanism, you're not going to get the minimum insertion. This is something that was talked about in the Vital MTB review, and that's the only significant con. It's still not a big deal. Let me zoom out. You can see it's slammed enough to where you can manage. I'm a little bit biased. I'm 6 foot riding a large, so it's going to be fine for me. But if you're shorter and like upsizing, or maybe like have the 29 model, if you're shorter and you're running the 29 model and you have the seat post issue, it's eventually going to become a problem. And I've cut it specifically to this length so that when I extend it all the way up, I only have like 1.5 inches to clamp onto, and that's where my pedal stroke is. It's possible that I'd have to sacrifice pedal efficiency to get it slammed more, and I would like to avoid that. I'd rather not. So finishing with the cons, we'll move to pros, which is the first pro is just the price point, flat out. For $1,500, what you get overall is the most important thing as a pro. And I do mean that in the sense that the bike is, when you look at the polygons, you'll notice certain things, compromises, little things that bother you. With the Vitus, there's really not much. So you have to get so nitpicky, like, you know, going over my cons. Aside from the seat tube, you really get everything you need. But I'll go over two big pros that I like, for especially for this price point. For $1,500 full suspension, really important is boost through axle, front and rear. Not only because they're just going to be more rigid, more sturdy, but even more importantly, as the modern industry standard, that means that your upgrade path is up to you. You got free reign. If you want to upgrade wheels, or if you damage a wheel and need to replace it, you can get really good lower end, or you can just go straight top of the line if you want, but it'll fit and you don't have to do any weird washer, spacer, wheel dishing nonsense to try to get it to fit. And then sticking with the wheels, the second pro is coming out of the box with really high quality tubeless ready tires. Schwalbe Honda in the back, Magic Mary in the front. I mean, these tires are slightly overkill for where I am, but it's so nice to have real nice tacky rubber, and I'll probably eventually be switching it to tubeless. And I'm not sure what tape is on the rim yet. I haven't looked, but I already have the tape anyways, and some ghetto valves in the garage, so just buying sealant, I could probably get that done today. So overall, the bike, let me see if I missed any of the details I wanted to go over. Oh, should definitely mention geometry. The head tube is 66.5 and the C tube is 76.5. Very nice modern trail geometry. Not overly aggressive in enduro and not awkwardly steep in cross country. When they designed it, they knew what they were going for, and I think they nailed it. The drivetrain is 1x10 Dior in the back with these Sun Tour cranks that I actually like. I prefer this over the Ceram SX. The cassette is apparently 1146. I thought it was 1142, but it does look pretty large. That might be a 46. I'm not going to bother counting. And the front is 32. So if it is a 46, that's good, because it kind of makes up for slightly extra size in the front. When you order this bike, you are ordering direct, shipping to your house, and it is unbuilt. I just did the build video time lapse. Go back if you want to watch that. Make sure you have aftermarket pedals already at the house ready to go when you buy it. The stock pedals they give you are not fit for this type of riding. I went with raised face Chester because my other bike has a Crank Brothers stamp, and the large platform is actually so large and grippy that it's hard to flick your feet off when you need to. So for aggressive riding, I'm going to go Chester, so it's a little bit easier to slide the foot off in the middle and adjust mid-ride. The tires are 2.35 front and rear out the box. I think Vitus said that there's clearance for 2.6, which in the front you definitely do with the way X Fusion designed the suspension. In the rear, that's a tough call. I'm gonna go no on 2.6. Could it fit with the wheel perfectly straight? Sure, but you don't want to give yourself that pressure because the wheel is going to take a lot more abuse anyways, which means over time it's just not going to stay that true. It's not going to be true enough. So if you're running a 2.6 knobby type tire, you're going to get frame rubbing, and there's no reason to do that. Just stick with either keep that tire on or just go for like 2.4, maybe 2.5. The brakes are hydraulic, of course. Shimano MT401 with 180mm rotor front and rear. So fitting for both the price point and the riding style. I mentioned that this comes in 3 trims. I just also wanted to mention that it comes in both wheel sizes. So there are a ton of options with the Mythique model line, whereas if you buy from the Polygon, it does 27.5 for small and medium, and then for 29 it's only medium, large, extra large. So you have to sort of make that compromise. Here there's no compromise on the trim, the wheel size, and what type of bike you're looking to buy. I won't be able to ride this bike the way it should be ridden for a week because I'm going out on a trip. So I haven't been able to really test the suspension. The X-Fusion suspension feels really sticky and harsh, which is there's no point in saying that right out of the box because it hasn't even really broken in yet, but it is something you see on a lot of reviews. So you know, we'll ride it, we'll check back in a month and see how it is. The front obviously has a lockout, but unfortunately for the $1,500 VR model, there's no lockout. You just have your rebound. So Vitus does say that it is a firm tune, probably specifically because it has no lockout, but even when you kind of overinflate the shock, it's just going to be rough to pedal, especially with the 4-bar linkage. I think this linkage type is notorious for pretty aggressive pedal bob and chain kickback and kind of inefficient pedaling overall. I like the saddle on this, kind of close to a fabric scoop, which is kind of my favorite saddle. I'm definitely going to keep that on that. Obviously the Dior derailleur has the clutch, 10-speed. It came, considering right out of the box, it came pretty well indexed. It only has one sticking point on the highest gear at the very end. And I haven't even fiddled with it. I think if I just tap the barrel adjuster once, that'll probably be fine. So yeah, for just coming out the box, I mean, the tire pressure was right out of the box, the indexing was almost perfect out of the box. I do like the way it was built. They send you a bunch of accessories I'd like to mention. This chain stay protector comes not pre-installed, which is cool because maybe you don't like this style. Maybe you want one that sort of wraps all the way around. You know, you have your own thing. Or I have not used this kind before. I usually make my own. So I slap this on. The adhesive seems pretty good, and it really covers the whole length all the way literally up to the end of the pivot there. And it even comes with zip ties if you don't already have some. So this cable on the opposite side refuses to sit into this weird sort of C-clip type fixture. So I just zip tied the cable to keep it close to the frame, and then zip tied the cables up front to keep them a bit more tidy. But yeah, I really like the way this bike came. It also came with, I don't have it, it's in the garage. It came with a little multi-tool. I don't like using multi-tools because holding them while you're working and leveraging them really sucks. But it is nice because it covers everything. Looks like it has the T25, which I don't actually have. So I'm going to keep that around for those on-ride repairs. And I think that's about it. Hit my 20-minute mark. Hella long video. Lots of talking. And I warned you. But this bike is great and has a lot of little details going on that I like, and some weird things that I don't like. So I wanted to hit off on everything and really help all these people who are trying to buy these bikes. I should also mention how I got it in stock. I just got lucky, but if you are trying to buy this bike and you're frustrated because it's always out of stock like everything is right now, sign up for inventory alerts from Chain Reaction's website. Get it sent to your email, because I, like a lot of people, thought, oh, the bike is just never in stock and they're waiting for like a large batch. But people said differently. People said every now and again they have small batches come in stock, however many they are, but they literally sell out instantly. So when I randomly was checking this website to compare bikes to this price-wise, I just saw it in stock. There was only 4. It was only in this size and the women's version. So I finally had the money. This is the bike I wanted to get months ago when I started mountain biking but couldn't afford it. So I just got it. And then it shipped here from Ireland in about a week. Less than a week, actually. Same thing with Polygon. They're doing their pre-orders, but they're getting a little weird with their pricing. It's inconsistent from their website to the actual retailer, Bikes Online. So I don't know what they're doing. I think bike companies are just freaking out right now with the surge in purchases. So that's the Vitus Mythique 27.5. This is the woman's model, but same thing as the $1,500 VR spec. And maybe next weekend we'll actually give it a first proper test ride. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, as well as far as like ordering and building it, because I did that build video in the last video and it was pretty straightforward. There's just a couple of small details that you might want to figure out or might need help with. But yeah, I literally just felt like I just tightened on some bolts, got riding, and everything was working correctly. Brakes worked well, drivetrain shifted well, all that. The only real hassle was taking care of the seat post, because it is very long. They ship you with such a long one that I feel like almost nobody would really need that. So I did take it to my neighbor's house with his he has every tool. It's awesome. So we were able to cut it down and then sand it down nicely so that it fit back in.